Good morning, my name is Yeon Tae. My question is that I want to know the official position of the European Union in response to Britain's official withdrawal from the EU, and I wonder your position.
Okay, well, this is a very difficult question, which I'll try also to answer to the best of my ability. Over time, since the very beginnings of the European Union, as you saw, was a European community for steel and coal, there never was any provision in the treaties for a country leaving the communities of the European Union, which I think is very interesting. This was only in the last treaty, the Treaty of Lisbon, that we introduced this provision that would make it possible for a member state to actually leave the Union. And I think that is quite telling, that because it symbolizes a kind of radical change in the construction of the European Union, whereby our challenges so far have been enlargements, which is basically more countries, joining the European Union, some of them with a different history or different level of development. So what is interesting with the so-called Brexit is that this is the first time ever in the history of the European Union that a country has decided to leave the EU. So in a way, we are now testing the grounds, through Brexit. So quite clearly, member states do have the right to leave. But as we've seen with Brexit, it's a very complicated process. So where we are now, as you're probably aware, is the United Kingdom has officially told the EU that they wanted to leave. A date has been set for the 29th of March of this year, 2019. But it is in the interest both of the European Union and the United Kingdom that the United Kingdom should be able to live in an orderly fashion. As you're probably aware, Prime Minister May negotiated a very lengthy, we're talking about something like 500 pages. What she negotiated is a deal to ensure the orderly exit of the United Kingdom. I just want to be clear here, we did not negotiate future relations. What we negotiated basically is a so-called divorce bill. How are we going to separate? And which, if you like, standards or legislation will still be applicable in the United Kingdom during a transition period that would expire at the end of 2020. What is happening, basically, as if you've been following the news, is that the country, the United Kingdom, is divided. And some people didn't want to leave in the first place, some people want to leave, but they have different ideas as to how it should be done and what should happen afterwards in terms of relations with the European Union. You can have very close relations, or you can have more distant relations. So in other words, either the United Kingdom could have a very privileged status, like some other countries like Norway, which is often mentioned, or the United Kingdom could have a status that would be very similar to a very far away country that is not in Europe and also has had no dealings with the EU, for example, with a simple free trade agreement. So the difficulty is that basically the United Kingdom itself, as a nation, they don't know what they want. So we think there will be a vote next week. We think the deal that has been negotiated by the Prime Minister will not be adopted in the British Parliament. And then there is a real risk that the United Kingdom will leave on the 29th of March with no agreement whatsoever. This is called the no-deal Brexit. And this will be very problematic because it means that potentially from one day to the next, British citizens living in other countries of the European Union, but also European citizens living in the United Kingdom, will have no status. So no rights, no status. It will mean, for example, also that British planes will not have access to the European space, so it means that planes will not be able to take off. So there are some very concrete consequences to this idea that there will be a no deal. So if you like, the United Kingdom, of course, is sovereign in deciding to leave, but there are implications, you know, on both sides of the channel that have to be taken into account. And then I'm very surprised by some of the articles that I read in the British press, because they think that, you know, the British Parliament can decide anything, any relations, can decide, you know, whether they can accept freedom of movement, freedom of goods. Well, on the other hand, you still have, you know, the European institutions and 27 other member states that have a say in the deal. And by way of conclusions, I want to draw your attention to the very specific and dramatic situation of Ireland and Northern Ireland, because you know that one of the major challenges is actually what happens to the border between Northern Ireland and Ireland, the Republic of Ireland. When both the UK and Ireland were within the European Union, the border did not really exist anymore because all the, you know, there was a free movement of people as well as goods and everything. But you know, this is a very important issue because potentially, if a hard border, you know, with checks, you know, is reintroduced between Northern Ireland and Ireland, this could cause more tensions on the Irish island, if you like, and we could see a situation where the civil war that existed, you know, in that part of the European Union could actually flare up again. So they are very significant challenges, you know, both for the United Kingdom and the European Union. And personally, I sincerely hope that they will be able to find a solution that is mutually agreeable.
Thank you.
Thank you.